Have you ever felt like your brain just didn't come with an instruction manual? Well, think of this as your official user's guide. We're about to dive into the incredibly complex operating system that is the human mind, and we're going to break down the code that makes you, well, you.
So what's really running the show up there? Turns out it pretty much boils down to three core forces. And these three are constantly working together to shape every single moment of your life. We're talking about memory, motivation, and emotion. Getting how these three interact, that's the key to unlocking how your mind really works.
All right, first up, let's talk about memory. The best way to think about it is like a huge, vast filing cabinet in your mind. And it's not just for remembering facts for a test, It's the very foundation of your identity. It stores every experience, every skill, every bit of knowledge that defines who you are.
So how does a memory even get built? Well, it's kind of like a three-step journey. It all starts as just a flicker in our sensory storage, a super brief impression of the world. Now, if your brain decides, hey, that's important, it moves it over to short-term memory, which is like a temporary workspace. And from there, if it's significant enough, it gets filed away into the brain's massive archive, long-term storage.
Now, inside that long-term archive, you've basically got two main sections. First, there's explicit memory. This is all about knowing what, the facts you have to consciously try to remember, like the capital of France. On the flip side, you've got implicit memory. This is about knowing how, all those skills that just feel automatic, like riding a bike. You don't have to think about it, you just do it.
Okay, let's bring this home for a second. Take a moment and think about your last birthday. The people, the sounds, maybe the cake, that little personal movie playing in your head right now, that is a specific type of explicit memory called episodic memory. It's literally the story of your life told one episode at a time.
So, memory gives us our past and all our knowledge, but what makes us actually act on any of it? For that, we need to shift gears from the mind's filing cabinet to its engine room. Let's talk about our second force, motivation.
One of the most basic ideas here is called drive reduction theory, and it's actually really simple. Your body has needs. When you get hungry, for example, that need creates this uncomfortable tension, a drive. And what does that drive do? It motivates you to go find food, eat it, and get your body back to a state of balance. Simple as that.
But of course, we're not just driven by hunger and thirst. Our motivations also come in two different flavors. Extrinsic motivation is all about the external rewards, working for a paycheck, studying hard to get a good grade. Then you've got intrinsic motivation, which comes from inside. That's when you do something just for the pure joy of it, probably fueled by a memory of how good it felt the last time you did it.
And this all connects to a really core idea in psychology. At its most basic level, so much of our behavior can be explained by this one simple principle. We are absolutely wired to seek out pleasure and to avoid pain. It's this powerful, primal driver that shapes our choices every single day.
Okay, so we have our memories and we have our motivations. But what gives it all meaning? What makes any of it matter? That's where our third and final force comes into play, emotion. This is the system that adds all the color, the texture, and the significance to our world. It decides which memories become unforgettable and which motivations feel incredibly urgent.
But how do emotions even happen? Well, one of the first big ideas, the James Lange theory, kind of flips common sense right on its head. It says you don't run from a snake because you're scared. No, it says you see the snake, your body instantly reacts, your heart starts pounding, and then your brain interprets that physical reaction as the feeling of fear. So body first, emotion second.
But then, the Cannon-Bard theory came along and said, hold on a second. They argued it's not a sequence. They proposed that the emotional feeling and the physical reaction happen at the exact same time. You see the snake, and boom, your brain sends out signals that make your heart race and make you feel fear, all at once.
And finally, we have the two-factor theory, which adds one more crucial ingredient, your thoughts. It says, first you have that physical reaction, your heart is racing. But then your brain has to interpret the situation. It sees the snake and applies a cognitive label. That's a threat. It's the combination of that physical arousal plus the mental label that creates the emotion we call fear.
And that idea of labeling our feelings is so important, because what happens when our brain applies the wrong label or pulls up a corrupted file from our memory? Well, that's when we get glitches. This incredible system of ours isn't perfect. It's got bugs, just like any complex piece of software.
I'm sure you've seen these in the movies. Retrograde amnesia is when you lose your past. You can't recall memories from before some kind of injury. But anterograde amnesia? That's arguably way more devastating. That's when you can't form any new long-term memories. Every new experience just fades away, leaving you kind of stuck in a perpetual present.
Now, forgetting isn't always that dramatic, right? It happens to us every single day through something called interference. Retroactive interference is when new information basically bumps out the old stuff, like when you get a new phone number and suddenly you can't remember your old one for the life of you. Proactive is the exact opposite. That's when old info gets in the way of the new, like when you keep typing your old password right after you've changed it.
And this all leads to a really crucial point. Your memory is not a video recording. It's a reconstruction. And because of that, it can absolutely be tricked. We unconsciously edit our memories to fit our current beliefs. We forget where we learned something and, get this, we can even form vivid, confident memories of things that never, ever happened. Okay, so understanding the system and all its glitches, that's step one. But step two? That's learning how to use it better. This is the practical part of the user manual. A few simple hacks to take a little more control over your own mental OS.
Want to boost your memory? You can create mental shortcuts with things like acronyms, but you can also use your environment. Studies show you remember stuff better if you're in the same place where you first learned it. That's context-dependent recall. And the same thing goes for your mood. A happy memory is way easier to access when you're already feeling happy.
And what about managing those emotions? We can actually regulate them. Instead of just stewing on something negative, you can consciously reframe it as a learning opportunity. You can use humor to break the tension, or you can just distract yourself with an activity you really enjoy to completely shift your mental state.
But here's a quick warning label from the user manual. Have you ever tried not to think about something, only to find that it's all you can think about? Yeah, that's a real thing. Actively trying to suppress a thought can actually make it rebound even stronger. Sometimes a little gentle distraction works way better than brute force. So, as we wrap this up, let's bring it all back together. Your mind isn't just a collection of separate parts. It is a deeply interconnected system. Your memories of past feelings influence what motivates you right now, and your current emotions decide which memories you can easily pull up. They're all in a constant conversation with each other.
And that, right there, is why all of this matters. This isn't just a bunch of trivia about the brain. When you understand the basic mechanics of how your mind works, its strengths, its weaknesses, its glitches, you get the power to work with it instead of against it. Understanding the system really is the first step to using it better.
Ultimately, this incredible, complex, and sometimes frustrating machine, it's yours to command. It is the most powerful tool you will ever own. So the final question is, now that you've had a peek at the user's guide, how are you going to use it?